I'm Scott Buehl, Uber Builder. This?
Is that the original drawing?
Yeah, that's Jimmy's original drawing that he sent me. He sent me this, and he sent me these things, and a description of his guitar that he wanted to see. And I just went by that. I've been working with him on the phone and on the computer, trying to figure out what he wants.
So what happened when you got into that and you started trying to deal with that?
Into this?
Yeah, when you asked him about the stuff.
Oh, you know what? We tried to find this stuff at the drugstore in Texas that he got it from. Couldn't find it anywhere. Went to look for a bunch of toys. Couldn't find any toys with that stuff in it. It was really a pain. So what I ended up doing, I talked to the chemist that works in the paint booth, and he told me, pretty much gave me guidelines as to where to look and what to do. Found some stuff on the internet. But that was this. This is, believe it or not, figuring out what to put in those little windows. That was the hardest part of this whole thing. That was the most difficult thing, and there was no technique involved or anything. I just could not find the fluid. But we ended up, like I said, we mixed up the paraffin oil and a hydrophobic dye, and then food color and water, and they just totally repel each other, and it worked out good. So I grabbed a body, and I put a pig guard on it and hung a bridge in the thing, and I just started kind of sketching out these lines, you know, just eyeballing it till I got what I thought was good. Got it to look pretty good, and then I drew the whole thing in AutoCAD and printed it out on a piece of paper, stuck it down to this piece of wood, and then I cut these out by hand on the scroll saw and just sort of sanded them and got them nice and clean, use it as my template. And then I made a few smaller templates off of that, like this one. Because these are individual windows. These pieces of plastic are, you know, I couldn't make it all as one unit. Be afraid for them to break or something like that. So I had to do these flat ones, and these are bent. All four of these are bent, and then this one is flat. But I just made some pin router templates, cut it out on the pin router, and laminated the plastic. Easier said than done.
This is the hardest thing you've done?
This is by far the hardest guitar I've ever had to do here, by far.
And who are you?
I'm Scott Buehl, Uber Builder. What I got going, I'm about to put some fluid in these windows.
What was the fluid?
It's the fluid is paraffin oil. What is it? It's paraffin oil, a hydrophobic dye. There's water with just regular food color that you get at the grocery store, you know, and a biocide to keep stuff from growing in it, and just lamp oil.
Point to that. What?
See, what color is that one? This one is yellow and purple. Yeah. All right. Here's the purple.
So what is that, food color?
And here's the yellow. Okay, this is water. It's purified water, food color, and biocide, which is like, you know, like bleach or something, but it's not bleach because they didn't want to kill the color. And this one is it's paraffin oil, and it's just lamp oil, and I put some color in it. It's called hydrophobic dye. So it's afraid of water, so it won't mix with that. But what it is, it's what they color hydraulic oil and stuff like that with. And a couple other letters, I think a little bit of naphtha in here, and I forget what else.
So how do you get it? How do you get it into that?
I inject it. Okay, so about that much. Okay. And then lay that down. Stuff doesn't come out, even though there's a hole there, it won't come out. Shake that up a little first.
You had to make those little plastic panels by hand?
Yeah, they're a pain. That was a pain. That was hard. It was very difficult. It's not acrylic, it's Lexan. So stuff is really tough. It's hard for me to glue. My syringe is not cooperating. Just typical of this stuff. Okay, I'm gonna try my other one.
It's good in the topsy-turvy world of rock and roll to have a couple of syringes, right?
That's right. You always need to keep a couple of syringes handy when you're working on guitars. Just basically because of the culture that surrounds it. There we go. There it is.
And how can they separate?
Oil and water, right?
So one of the colors is oil and the other one's water.
Yeah, the yellow is the water. And yeah, they'll separate.
So that's an O-ring?
That's my O-ring. And I use a stainless, little stainless machine screw because I don't want it to ever rust.
Let me get a close-up on the O-ring there, Bert.
There you go, partner. I don't ever want to take that screw out. Once I put it in, it's there for life.
That's a little rubber O-ring that goes in the screw. Okay, go ahead
Yep.
and put it in the hole. Look at that.
That's it.
That's pretty cool. And you had to tap each one of those holes.
Yeah. Little 440 tap.
That is slick.
That's it. And you know, when I hang it in the guitar, I have some of this white stuff back here that it's this diffuser panel. The diffuser panel from the fluorescent lights, and so that's what it'll look like.
Oh, that's cool.
I gotta leave a bubble in there because when this stuff expands, it'll expand a little with heat. I don't want it to crack this stuff. It'll just, if there was no air in there to take up some of the expansion, it would just bust it open and start leaking. I wanted to run a hose off of there and make a little reservoir for some air, like kind of like a spring to let it move in and out, but it'd be a lot more work. So I opted not to do it and just leave the bubble.
So you had to do all that by hand?
Yeah, that's all by hand, everything.
That is insane.
Some of it I thought about writing a program for it, but nah, for just the one, no way. It was easy enough just to throw it on the mill and cut it, or, you know, weld it up or whatever I needed to do to get it done. I left as much aluminum on it as I could just to make sure it's stiff. This piece was a challenge because this had to bolt in after the guitar's together, and after the plastic windows are in place, this has to go in, and this is all the structure. This ties in the neck to the bridge.
But these bolts aren't for the neck.
No, these bolts bolt to the neck block, and there's a billet block underneath that's all hollowed out, made it as light as I could get it, and then the frame bolts to that, and that block is welded to the body, and then the neck bolts to that, and this bolts to the block, which ties it all in.
Is that all aluminum on the inside?
It's all aluminum. Pretty much everything, the skin and all the structure is aluminum. Yep.
And back.